There's this ancient rabbinical method for reading ancient spiritual texts that will take texts like the Bible from weird and inaccessible to actually helpful for your life, whether or not you believe in God. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. It's generally abbreviated with the acronym PARDES, which is a Hebrew word that means grove or forest. But what it does is it sort of recognizes the layers of meaning that are in these ancient spiritual texts. And each layer has its own way of helping you enter into the text outside of just the literal meaning. Well, except the first. The first layer of meaning is the Peshat, which is the basic meaning of the text. Not necessarily the literal meaning, but like what the author intended to say to the audience that it was sort of first written to. Sometimes that can be really different than the literal meaning as you might interpret it in sort of modern English, because you've got to get a little bit of cultural nuance and you've got to get sort of like a basic understanding of what those people were hearing from those words, but it's the basic meaning of the text. And the second level is something called the remez, or it really means hint. And this is the allegorical or philosophical meaning of a text, where you take the words and interpret them, especially if something is actually an allegory, like what is the deeper meaning? Now, this is important because there's sort of some guardrails in place for this, and that is that like you don't want to overdo them. Every little word doesn't symbolize something else, and often really it is thought of as this sort of intertextual connection. So one scripture might be hinting at another scripture. Ancient rabbis often did this as well because they would hint at other texts or at a full text by quoting the first part of it. A lot of people had memorized an enormous amount of the first 5 books of the Bible, and so rabbis would sort of say the beginning of a verse but imply the whole thing. Kind of like we might take things that are common knowledge in our culture, and you might say like a bird in the hand, where you actually mean a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. So you're implying the whole idea by just stating the beginning of it. The next level is the drash, where you actually are trying to make the scriptures apply to today. And it was very playful. They would add parables or stories to the text and sort of to expand upon the text, to bring it into the modern day. It's also a place where people will look at other rabbis and what those rabbis have taught about a text and say, you know, this rabbi has this story about Abraham leaving his family and going to this new land. And, you know, you might say that it's kind of where it's the story of all of us, where we have to leave one place and go to another, and oftentimes to follow God, it's taking us into a new direction. You can also use this to apply it to justice and things like that are happening in the world today. All kinds of different ways of applying that passage with today, by extending the text itself, going beyond the text. Now, the real thing that they stress is that like you don't cherry pick, right? There's a deep reverence for the ancient texts in that you're always sort of using the Peshat, using the remez to guide you into an extension and an application of it into the modern day. And you can play with it, you can extend it with all these stories as long as you are sort of moving it in the same direction as the whole text itself, in context of the entire ancient spiritual text or collection. And then there's the sod, which is the secret or hidden meaning. The rabbis said that this sort of interpretation was the one that could be the most dangerous and actually didn't teach it to many people. The Kabbalah is one of these sort of methods, but what's really interesting about Hebrew is that there aren't numbers. The letters are the numbers. And so one of the ways that people uncover the secret or hidden meaning, who've been trained in that, is that some of the numbers, some of the words, when you add up the letters, actually have the same numbers and are said to be related. But again, this is dangerous, and And one of the things that I read about sod is that if you feel like when you've when you've used sod to give you a secret or hidden meaning that is something that nobody else has thought of, and everybody else is dumb, you actually haven't uncovered sod. You've just uncovered your own ego. The reason that I said that this is helpful and it can sort of unlock the whole thing for you is that it treats the Bible and any other ancient spiritual text as having all of these different layers of meaning, which it does. And the point of these methods is not to be super academic about everything and get everything right, but it's to help you process your life, to process the world, to find hope, to find grace, to find inspiration for doing the right thing and being the best version of yourself. And even if you don't believe in God, these texts have inspired people for millennia. And if you treat them playfully and interestingly, they can inspire you too, whether or not you believe in God.